Hi, this is Kevin for Passion for the Word. Get the housekeeping out of the way real quick. Hit the subscription bell or the notification bell, and Facebook will let you know when we got a new video out. Subscribe to the channel. These are all things that Facebook or YouTube uses to promote videos, and the more of these things they get, the more they promote them. If these videos are helping you, if you like them, these are things you can do to help us get the word out. Share the videos. Above all, pray for us. We've done several videos. Does the Bible support this? Does the Bible support abortion? Does the Bible say a rape victim must marry her accuser? Which, surprisingly enough, has been one of our biggest videos. And so what amazes me is the number of atheists that are upset that the Bible does not support rape. Your guess is as good as mine as to why that is. In this one, another claim. Well, a lot of times what I do, I get in these chat rooms and I'll get in a conversation with an atheist, and they don't realize it. I get my inspiration sometimes from them. This is one of them. They tried to say, how can you believe a book that supports slavery? Well, that's a loaded question. So let's go into the Bible and actually see, does it really support slavery as we think of it? Now, the first thing I'm going to say is my King James Bible only has the word slave in it twice. One time is in Jeremiah 2:14, and it says, "Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?" The other time is in Revelation 18:13, "And cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and the souls of men." It's the only two times it's mentioned that way. Now, what we're going to look at first, before we go into the rest of more into the Bible, slavery in the United States. Because this is, when we hear the word slave, most of us are thinking of this. So slaves were property. Slaves were not considered people. Slavery was inherited through the mother. In court, a slave's testimony wasn't allowed in litigation against a white person. A slave could not leave the owner's land without permission. Slaves could not assemble without a white person being present. Slaves could not own firearms. Slaves were not allowed to learn to read or write. Slaves were not able to be legally married. A slave owner could treat and abuse his slaves however he saw fit. In essence, we've got more laws today protecting dogs than the slaves had in this country back before the Civil War. A slave owner could sell any slave without regard to that slave's family. You just had a new baby, somebody wants to buy it, the slave owner can sell it, and all you can do is sit there and cry. A slave owner could kill his slave without fear of the law. A slave owner could demand sex from any of his slaves, and that, sadly enough, it happened a lot. That's what slavery was in this country. Now let's look at the Bible and see if there's anything in the Bible that even comes close to that. Exodus 20:10. "But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates." Now, what you're going to find out, remember I said slave was only mentioned twice, and it's not really in this context. The rest of the Bible, they're called servants. And we'll come up with some other stuff in there. It's more like an indentured servant. But they were a servant. They weren't necessarily a slave as we think of them. But notice here, on the Sabbath day, you weren't allowed to make them work. Didn't have that problem here. They made them work all the time. Deuteronomy 15, starting in verse 12. "And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, and out of thy winepress. of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. So here, it's not a life sentence. It's you serve 6 years, you get released the 7th year. And not only that, you're not working for free. When you get released, the slave owner, the master, is supposed to give them some sheep out of the flock, get them started that way, give them some stuff from the threshing floor, some grain, some wine from the wine press. You're supposed to set them up so that they hopefully don't end up with. What caused a lot of this, at least with the Hebrews, is they would be in a financially bankrupt state. They didn't have a bankruptcy court. If you failed to meet your bills, you went into servitude. Continuing, Deuteronomy 15, starting in verse 15. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt. Now here's bondmen. They were slaves in Egypt. And the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today, and it shall be. If he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee. Now this is referring to your servant. If he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee and thine house, because he is well with thee, then thou shalt take an awl, like a punch, and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. So what this is saying, that the servant, when his 6 years is up, and the master of the house tells him, okay, you're free to go. And he says, no, I like it here. I'm well taken care of. And in many of these cases, they lived better as servants than they did out on their own. And not because they were had problems, but just financially times were tough. Not everybody had money. But they would puncture the earlobe to the doorpost. I'm sure it hurt like mad. And they'd wear an earring. And these servants, within that house, they were held to the highest regard. This was a badge of honor to wear this ring in your ear. Exodus 20 and 16. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. So this is exactly what was taking place in Africa from the slavery that took place in the 16, 17, and 1800s. They were going out into Africa and stealing people. They were sending the African natives out to war. When they would go to war, they would capture people. They would go out and steal people. They would steal people and put them into slavery. Your husband or your wife might be out in the field and never come home. And you'd never see or hear from them again because they had been captured by slave traders and sold off. Biblically, that comes with a death sentence, period. I just don't think you can make the claim that the slavery that the Bible's talking about, servanthood that the Bible's talking about, it's not the same slavery that we had. If you go through and read, there's rules. If you knock a slave's tooth loose, accidentally, on purpose, whatever, you have to let him go. You break an arm. There's different things like that. If you harm your slave, there's many of these things, or you harm your servant, there's many of these things that you have to let them go if that happens. Their time is done. They've earned it. The slaves in the United States didn't have that. Didn't matter. Cut off their foot. They used to cut off some of their toes so that they couldn't run. Didn't matter. Now you're going to just work. You're just going to not be able to run when you do it. The slavery we had in this country was not anything like the slavery that the Bible's talking about. This was primarily a means of someone that got into debt, paying off the debt, restructuring, getting going again. That's all I have today. Thank you and God bless.